When I built a simple fence to mark my property line, the HOA president, Karen, stormed onto my land claiming I had blocked her private community trail. She screamed about violating HOA access rights. What she didn't know? That trail ran through my deeded acreage, and I had the law and a camera ready. When my wife and I moved to Cedar Ridge, we thought we'd found peace, acres of pine forest, a babbling creek, and an old farmhouse we spent months restoring. No traffic, no city noise, just quiet. Then came her, Karen Holt, self-proclaimed queen of the Cedar Ridge Homeowners Association. She lived 2 lots down from us. Modern house, perfect lawn, and a personality that could strip paint off a wall. At first, she seemed polite.
She dropped off a Welcome to the Ridge packet with cookies and a 10-page HOA rulebook.
I thanked her but told her we weren't part of the HOA. Our land had been there before the subdivision even existed. She frowned, like she'd tasted something sour. Well, she said, that's unusual. But you're still expected to follow community standards. I smiled. I'll keep my property clean. That's all you need to worry about. And that should have been the end of it. But one Saturday morning, while I was checking fence posts near the woods, I noticed something strange. A group of hikers walking through my back pasture, following a dirt path that led right to my creek. I waved and called out, "Hey folks, this is private property." One of them, a middle-aged woman in designer hiking gear, said, "Oh, it's okay. The HOA trail map shows this as the community trail loop." I blinked. "What trail map?" She pointed to a laminated sign nailed to a tree on the far end, Cedar Ridge Nature Trail, community access. My blood pressure spiked. That was my tree. On my land. Later that day, I marched over to Karen's immaculate porch. She was trimming her rose bushes in a sun hat like she was shooting a gardening commercial. "Karen," I said, "I just caught people hiking through my property. Your HOA trail goes through my woods." She smiled, completely unbothered. "Oh yes. Isn't it lovely? The previous owner let us include it when we developed the trail system. It's been community access for years." "Community access?" I repeated. "I bought that land and the deed doesn't say anything about public trails." Her smile faded. "Well, it's kind of understood. Everyone's used it for so long it's basically HOA property now." I stared. "That's not how property law works," she folded her arms. "You can't just put up fences and block people. You'll be violating HOA trail continuity policy." I almost laughed. "Karen, your policy stops at my fence line," she scowled. "If you block it, I'll have to report you. We'll take legal action if necessary." I walked away, shaking my head, already knowing what was coming next. Because nobody threatens a man with a continuity policy and walks away unchallenged. That evening, I grabbed my post driver and rolled out a stack of fencing wire. If she wanted to test property lines, we'd do it the old-fashioned way, with steel and boundary markers. By sunrise, I'd finished half the fence, strong cedar posts, barbed wire strung tight, and big private property, no trespassing signs every 20 feet. An hour later, the rumble of Karen's SUV echoed down my driveway. She screeched to a halt, jumped out, and marched toward me like a drill sergeant in yoga pants. "What is this?" she yelled, pointing at the fence. "It's called a property line," I said calmly. "You might have heard of it." She stomped closer, eyes blazing. "You can't do this. You're blocking the community trail. People walk their dogs here." "They'll have to find a new route," I said. "The trail crosses my deeded land." Karen pulled out her phone like it was a weapon. "I'm calling the HOA board right now. You'll get fined." I chuckled. "Not part of your HOA, remember?" That made her twitch. "Everyone in Cedar Ridge abides by HOA standards." "Everyone in Cedar Ridge except me," I said, tightening another strand of wire. She sputtered. "This is unbelievable." "You're being hostile." "Karen," I said, meeting her glare, "you're trespassing on my property right now. I suggest you step back." She froze, eyes wide. "You wouldn't dare." I pointed toward my game camera on the post. "Already recording. Leave now or you'll be explaining this to the sheriff." She finally stormed off, muttering something about entitled land thieves. 2 hours later, my phone rang. It was the county code officer saying the HOA had filed a public obstruction complaint. I invited him out, showed him my deed, the survey markers, and the property line. The man whistled and said, "Yeah, this isn't even close to HOA land. You're clean." He left laughing, promising to enjoy the popcorn when Karen heard the news. But Karen wasn't done. The next week, she printed flyers claiming I'd illegally blocked community property. She held a meeting where she ranted about neighborhood unity and aggressive landowners endangering public spaces. Some HOA members believed her, until one of them looked up county maps and confirmed that the trail cut through my parcel entirely. That's when things turned nuclear. I woke up one morning to find the top strand of my fence cut clean through. Fresh boot tracks in the mud led from the HOA side right to my creek. I checked the game cam, and there she was. Karen, bolt cutters in hand. Middle of the night, that was the last straw. I sent the footage straight to the sheriff. It didn't take long. The sheriff himself, a big man named Harper, who knew every acre of the county, showed up that afternoon. He watched the footage twice and shook his head. Well, he said, she can explain this one in court. Karen showed up 20 minutes later, fuming as if I was the criminal. You called the police on me? She shouted. No, I said. I reported a trespass and vandalism. They just happened to be the same person. Sheriff Harper stepped forward. Ma'am, you cut through his fence? Karen folded her arms. That fence is illegal. He's blocking a community trail. It's his property, Harper said. We just checked county records. Karen's jaw dropped. That can't be right. The HOA approved the trail. HOA doesn't overrule county deeds, Harper said flatly. And you're lucky he's not pressing charges for property damage. I crossed my arms. Actually, I am pressing charges. Her face went pale. The next few weeks were chaos for the HOA. Karen received a trespassing citation, had to pay a fine, and was ordered to cover the cost of repairing my fence. But she didn't stop there. She filed a civil complaint, trying to claim implied community easement rights. It was laughable, but the county court had to hear it, so I showed up in my best jacket, deed in hand, and a USB stick with every piece of evidence, maps, footage, and even screenshots of her flyers calling me a community danger. When the judge asked for proof of her claim, Karen stammered about historical usage. The judge leaned back, unimpressed. So you're saying your HOA assumed they owned his land because they used it? She nodded weakly. He raised an eyebrow. That's called trespassing. Ma'am? I tried not to smile. The ruling came fast. My property line was confirmed, my fence was protected, and the HOA was ordered to remove all references to the Cedar Ridge Trail from their materials. Karen had to pay my legal fees, too. When I walked out of that courtroom, half the HOA board actually thanked me. They'd been tired of her power trips for years. By the next HOA election, Karen was voted out unanimously. A month later, I saw her for sale sign go up. Her house sold in a week. The new owners stopped by with a pie and a smile. We heard you're the guy who took down the HOA tyrant, the husband said. I laughed. Guess that's one way to put it. Now the trail behind my house is quiet again. The fence stands strong, cameras watching, signs posted, and sometimes when I walk along that fence line, I can almost hear Karen's voice echoing in my head. You can't block community property. And I just smile, tap the fence post, and whisper, watch me.